The Torah is very precise in its language. In fact, it is the most precisely written book ever. There isn't even one unnecessary letter. Everything has a purpose, and there is what to learn from. This leads us to a major question on this week and last week's Torah portions. It seems like the Torah is spending hundreds of extra lines detailing how the tabernacle was built. For us to know precisely how the tabernacle was built, what is necessary to tell us is the exact instructions God gave to Moses, with all its precise details. Next, it would suffice to write the following words: "And the Jews built the tabernacle in the desert exactly as God instructed Moses on Mount Sinai." Instead, the Torah details the instructions as they were given by God to Moses, and then, in an almost verbatim repetition, spends hundreds of lines describing how Moses gave those detailed instructions over to the Jews, and then again, when the Jews went ahead and built the actual tabernacle, repeating in detail what they built. All of this seems completely unnecessary and repetitive, as we know it all from the previous verses. One of the explanations given is that the Torah, by repeating itself, is letting us in on the uber excitement of the Jews at that time. Think about something exciting that happened to you in your life. When it happened, you wanted to go around and share it with as many friends and people as possible. Just because you told it to one person doesn't mean you stop talking about it. You try and find a way to stick it into every conversation. As a matter of fact, years later, you may find yourself repeating the story with some of the same emotion and thrill. The Torah is teaching us how excited the Jews were for this project of building a special physical dwelling place for Hashem, that they couldn't stop talking about it. Every detail was a topic of every conversation. As a result of their great passion, every ingredient was a discussion. They couldn't get enough of it. It wasn't just another construction job that they did. Instructions given to them by Moses and then implemented by the skilled craftsmen and women. This was very different. Through this work, they would see how forgiveness was granted to them for the grave sin of the golden calf. They would see how God's presence would dwell among them. This was an opportunity of a lifetime. History was in the making, and they felt it in their bones. It was the talk of town. This notion that the Jews were super pumped and uber passionate about the tabernacle is in fact found in the Torah itself. For when it came time to collect funds and material for the building, a fundraising call went out to the people, and they started donating and donating and donating until the people in charge asked them to stop, for they had too much. There was a surplus. They had given too much money and too much material. The difference between someone who gives a gift due to feelings of obligation or compulsion versus someone who gives with their heart and soul is in how much they give. When it's out of obligation, I give what I'm obligated to give and nothing more. No one wants to pay even 1 cent extra in taxes. I'll fulfill my obligation, but that's it. Nothing more. We all know this feeling from different times we contributed out of obligation. But when there is no obligation to give, and one gives out of their own desire and love, then not only is there no limit to how much they will give, but they will look for a way to make it the best and most beautiful. Their full heart is expressed via their generous gift. They feel for it. They want it to be the greatest success. It can even go to the extreme where one can get carried away, that they go over the top. One's love and passion can be so intense that it's a little too much for the recipient to handle all at once. So in essence, when the Torah tells us that the Jews donated more than what was necessary, to the point that they asked to stop the donations and they had too much, the Torah is also describing for us the temperature in the community at that time. There was such a palpable passion and extraordinary excitement for this project. The Jews were so full of energy, so when hearing every detail and instruction for the first time, it deserves its own mention. And this excitement grew further when they started donating and building, so that deserves its own mention as well. Our rabbis teach us that while we don't have a built temple in Jerusalem for God's presence to dwell, we are each miniature walking temples, also known as tabernacles. We currently find ourselves in the middle of the 60 days of increased joy. We're in the month of Adar. We just started the second Adar. We're 2 weeks before Purim. It is by divine design that the forces of evil have been working overtime during these last days to sow anxiety and fear around the globe. Let us not lose focus. For the world to be a better and more godly place, we have to become better and more godly people. We must assist others in need in every way we can, not from a space of obligation, but from a space of love. As we say every day in our prayers, Ashreinu matov chalkeinu, umanoim gorolenu, umayafa yerushosenu. Fortunate are we. How good is our portion, how pleasant our lot, and how beautiful our heritage. This week we conclude reading the book of Shemos, the book of Exodus, at which time in synagogues around the world we will all bless each other. Chazak, chazak, v'nischazek. Be strong, and let us be strengthened. Let us be inspired by the Jews who in love and great exhilaration jumped to create a physical space for God's revealed manifestation. Let us tap into that energy and joyfully build our personal space for God and be of service to others in need. I wish you a good Shabbos and a good Chodesh. Chazak, chazak, v'nischazek.